welcome to Season 2, Episode 59 of One Man's Opinion. Today I am discussing Playhouse on Park's production of Paula Vogel's powerful drama, Indecent, directed by Kelly O'Donnell, running through February 26th at Playhouse on Park at 244 Park Road in West Hartford, Connecticut. Indecent is one of the early Broadway plays I reviewed in spring of 2017, and I remember walking away from it imagining if only all theater was this good. It was my first year reviewing theater, and I only got to see about half the season, so I didn't get to see the play that beat out Indecent, Oslo, so I don't really have an opinion on that one, so maybe one day I will get to see Oslo in some way, shape, or form. Still, though, nearly 6 years later, I can only think of one or two new plays I've seen since Indecent premiered on Broadway that I've enjoyed more than it. Thankfully, Playhouse on Park retained the brilliance of Vogel's work. They keep that intro, that powerful intro at the beginning when the cast is sitting there silently in their seats on stage like statues in memoriam while the audience is taking their seats. Once the show technically begins, they rise as if resurrected, sand spilling out of their sleeves, which we later discover is actually not sand, but something far more prophetic to some of the characters' fates. Indecent is about the rise and success of the then controversial Sholem Asch play, The God of Vengeance, the play's ill-fated Broadway premiere, and the repercussions of the show's closing on Asch, played by Dan Krackhardt. The play also focuses on the effect on the play's primary protagonist, Lemml, played by Dan Zimberg. When Asch initially presents the play in his Yiddish literary group in Warsaw, Poland at the turn of the 20th century, the play is instantly derided by his colleagues for its central plots around a lesbian relationship, and that the father of one of the women abandoning his Jewish faith. Granted, the father has funded the purchase of a Torah through the profits of a brothel downstairs in his home, so he's a bit hypocritical on this level. The only real advocate for Asch and his play is Lemml, who is visiting the reading salon for the first time and immediately falls in love with the play and theater overall. He and Asch leave to find success with the play elsewhere and succeed. The play becomes a hit throughout Europe and eventually opens in New York in the heavily Jewish-populated Lower East Side, where it continues to succeed. The play garners enough attention that it is adapted into English and then moves uptown to the Apollo Theater, not the Apollo Theater we know, but the Apollo Theater as it was on Broadway, where the play faces persecution due to its content even after major edits. The power behind Vogel's play is its many layers of conflict. There's one point where the show is being produced in Germany and an anti-Semitic woman is cast as one of the lesbian girls. There's the cast having to learn English once the show transfers to the United States. Bigger thematic conflict happens within the Jewish community, particularly around Asch's efforts to remind his audience that Jews are just as human and prone to sin as any other people. The father character in The God of Vengeance, Yankel, played by Bart Shatto, is a solicitor of sex with a strong lust for money, a malicious stereotype that people have and continue to impose on Jews to this day. So it is not unreasonable that the Jewish community would want to disparage the play for this portrayal of a Jew. Then there's the lesbian relationship portrayed in the play between the daughter Rivkala, played by Helen Laser, and the prostitute Manka, played by Kristen Peacock, which is the ultimate offense to the more puritanical Broadway audience of its time, as well as some Jewish leaders. By this time, Asch has visited Europe as pogroms, the murderous atrocities against minority groups, especially Jews, were sweeping across Eastern Europe. Plus, there is the growing rise of anti-Semitism in post-World War I Germany. Because of the escalating hate surrounding his people, Asch becomes despondent towards his play, focused on things that he feels is more important. Vogel makes all this conflict and tension meticulously escalate over the course of a very lean 100 minutes. This play could easily go for another hour, and I would not complain just because of how rich the characters and the plot and the conflict is. With all these various layers and a rather vast array of characters that 9 actors have to play, plus imagery that was in the original Broadway production that I desperately wanted to see in this production of Playhouse on Park, I admit I was coming into this with high expectations, and thankfully O'Donnell, the cast, and Playhouse on Park's continued commitment to excellence does not let me down. If you've been to Playhouse on Park, it is a pretty intimate space with a low ceiling, which makes me wonder how they were going to pull off the play's finale, which I won't spoil for those who haven't seen Indecent yet, but they pull it off. Playhouse on Park's design is of a far more intimate design due to its small space, which frankly isn't a bad thing. Zimberg is wonderful as Lemml, giving an impassioned performance that evolves from a blissfully enraptured virgin of the arts to his ultimate denouement, foreshadowed at least twice early on in the play. The rest of the cast is exceptional. Peacock and Laser in particular have a heavy workload playing the different actresses who over time get cast as Rivkala and Manka. They do a great job of bringing a different tone to each of the roles in their performance as the characters who play the two lovers. I also particularly like Laser's sensitive yet firmly supportive portrayal of the wife of Ash, Madhya, who is his strongest advocate for getting the play to go forward. As you're watching the play, there are supertitles over the stage, which say in English, in German, in Yiddish, etc. That is just a hint for you as to what language the characters are speaking and why the language suddenly sounds a bit juvenile or uneducated, for lack of a better term. Credit is due to Johann Fitzpatrick's set design and Jeffrey Salerno's sound design, especially in the beginning of the play, setting up a ragtag, rickety theater space with the sound effects of creaking wood and the look of worn-down space that feels like a converted barn. Playhouse on Park has assembled another great production, this time with one of the best plays of the last decade. It is a must-see. But I'm only one man's opinion, so be sure to leave yours in the comments below. If you'd like to see Indecent, I'll leave information on how to get tickets in the description. You can support my channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Click the notification bell to be alerted to future reviews. My next review will be the Broadway production of Between Riverside and Crazy. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the theater.